Good day folks, and welcome. We're in the kitchens again today, coming near to Robert Burns' birthday, the 25th of January. So it's appropriate for me to prepare you a Robert Burns dinner. And we're also going to talk about the Selkirk Grace. The first thing we're going to do now, show the ingredients and show you how to prepare it. Okay? Now, Robert Burns is Scotland's national bard, revered throughout the whole of the world, and he's very famous indeed. A lot of his poems and songs are still mentioned and performed throughout the whole of the world. And there's also the Selkirk Grace. Now, Grace is a small prayer, but we'll come to that shortly. First thing we're going to do now is prepare the Burns supper. Burns Night is celebrated throughout the whole of the world. His birthday was on the 25th of January, and there's many Burns suppers throughout the whole of the UK and the world to celebrate that special day, Robert Burns' birthday, on the 25th. So I'm going to show you how to prepare the meal. It's very simple, and I'll show you the ingredients now. The first thing we have here, of course, is the haggis. Okay, that's the haggis. Now, for those of you who are vegetarians, you can actually purchase a vegetarian haggis as well. It comes in this form, or you can have it comes in slices. Buy it at local supermarkets or local butchers. And as I say, they do vegetarian haggis as well as the traditional haggis. Okay, this is a traditional one we're using today. And then we have the champit neeps and champit tatties. Now all that means it's mashed turnips and mashed potato. Okay, that's all that means. Champit means mashed in Scottish. I'm going to put some onions in because onions is one of my favourite vegetables, and it always seems to enhance the meal. Gives it a very good flavour. I'm going to put these onions in as well, okay? So here we go. We'll worry about these drinks later on, don't worry. Okay. Anyway, here we go. Now, obviously I'm not going to cook all this haggis, so I'm going to put some of it. I'm going to cook half of this, put some of it in a dish, so we're left with this one. Now, flatten that out, put that there at the side of the plate. Very simple to cook this, very easy. And then we're going to put the mashed potatoes and turnips in now on the plate. Reasonable portion, that goes in there. And then the potatoes, the champit tatties as they call them. Now, just to make things equal, put the onions in first. Onions in next, I should say. Alright, so there we are. That's all ready to go and be cooked. If you want, you can knock that haggis down, flatten it down and make it equilibrium to the rest of the ingredients there. I'm going to mash this up a little bit so it'll be easier to cook as well. Cut you up the ready slicked, as they say in the poem. Gushing the entrails brick like on a ditch. And oh, what a glorious sight. warm, reeking rich. You'll be able to listen and view all that on my Address to the Haggis video, which I made recently. So that looks a bit equal now. So that's your haggis. Okay, there we are, all ready to go. That's your haggis, mashed turnips, mashed potatoes, and I've put some sauteed onions in. Okay, prepare these onions beforehand, prepare them and give them a wee saute, you know, just make them soften them up a bit. So that's all ready to go. So we're talking about between 12 and 15 minutes here. Okay, I'm going to put them in for 12 minutes to start with. Here we go. So there we go, ready to go in. Micro. Burn supper going in. Closing the door. I'm going to put a little splash tissue on here just in case. I'm not saying it'll splash an awful lot, but I always like to put a splash sheet over when cooking in the micro. There we go, that's it in there. Close the door. Say what? High, on a high. I'm going to put them up to I'm going to put them up to 12 minutes. If it needs any more, we'll give it another couple of minutes, but that should be ample. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the Selkirk Grace while we're here. While we're waiting on the haggis cooking. Now the Selkirk Grace, the story goes that Robert Burns used it in 1794 in the Head High Street, Kirkcudbright. Now apparently they were having a meal in there, and at this meal there was a very important gentleman by the name of Dunbar Douglas. Dunbar Douglas was the 4th Earl of Selkirk from 1794, and the Grace, before Burns got hold of it, it was called the Galloway Grace or the Covenanters Grace, and Burns modernised it. That's when it became known as the Selkirk Grace, because it was said at that dinner in the Head Inn. Burns's version was, "Some have meat but cannot eat, some have none but want it. But we have meat and we can eat, so let the Lord be thanked." Now the original, which is said long, long before Robert Burns's day, the original was, "Some hae meat and canna eat, and some would eat that want it. But we hae meat and we can eat, and say the Lord be thanked." So that's the Selkirk Grace, folks. A lot of people did think that Robert Burns actually composed this grace. Now all that Robert Burns was, he became very fond of the grace, the Selkirk Grace, and he used it quite a lot. And all he did was adjust it slightly there, just to his own style. But the Selkirk Grace is used on many, many occasions, and it can be heard in a lot of situations. So the old one was the Galloway Grace or the Covenanters Grace, and the new one, the modern one, is the Selkirk Grace. Now, as I say, I think it all stemmed from meeting this Dunbar Douglas. He was the 4th Earl of Selkirk, and he was at this dinner over at the Sheep's Head in Kirkcudbright. So that's the Selkirk Grace. If you want to know a little bit more about the bard, the famous bard, just Google or YouTube, and you'll see the many, many works that he has composed during his lifetime. He didn't live a a long time. He died pretty early actually, he died of heart failure, but as I say, his work goes on, his work continues. The famous Auld Lang Syne, Dimension 1. So there we go. We'll get it ready for the toast there, I'll have the drinks ready. Now folks, I'm pulling out after 10 minutes because I can smell it and I know by these smells that it's ready. So out comes the dinner. Make sure you take something, a cloth or something to lift that plate because it will be hot when it comes out. So, there we are folks, only 10 minutes to cook and it looks absolutely delightful, delicious. That's your mum's dinner, all ready in 10 minutes. Just put the finishing touch on. Coriander there in the middle. So there we are. Your rubber buns, traditional haggis, neeps and tatties dinner. Now, we'll see the grease, now that it's all out, we'll see the grease for it. The grease. Some him eat and canna eat, and some would eat that want it. But we him eat, and we can eat, and say the Lord be thanked. There we are folks. Now I think the taste is appropriate. Oh, it's warm, freaking rich all right. Here we go for a taste. Now taste it. Delicious. Absolutely delicious. If your preparations are as good as that, you'll have an excellent burn supper. So there we are folks, the burn supper. The toast. Slainte to the haggis. Slainte to the haggis folks. Slainte. So there we are folks, that's your burn supper. I hope you all have a great Burns night. I hope you're all attending a Burns night anyway. And those that you haven't been to a Burns night, I think you'll really enjoy it. Obviously the COVID is restricting things. You can always have a Burns night in the house with your family. So, and don't forget, I have the address to the haggis on the last video that I made, and you can watch that and show how the haggis was addressed. It was serenaded, so to speak. Serenaded before it's played up and people can enjoy it then. So all the best folks, and hope to catch you all on the next journey. Bye for now.